So we're going to go ahead and move into the last section of this self-prepping. We got a little bit later than normal, so we understand if some of you have to take off, but we're going to go ahead and keep plugging along for those of you who are still getting a lot out of what we've been talking about. But I'm going to start off exactly where I had mentioned with the reading fiction, because there's no single more important thing that a student can be doing through their middle school and high school years, in our opinion, as far as preparing them for a great ACT score, than reading fiction regularly. And books are fine. We just notice, any books are fine, obviously, but we just notice a higher correlation with fiction, and we have speculation as to why that is. But it's just something to think about, and it doesn't have to be anything complicated. The best thing are things that your students want to read. That is what matters. And if you're looking for like a number metric, 100 books is what we have noticed is like a tipping point. If a student has read 100 fiction novels by the time, or 100 books by the time they, are nearing the end of their ACT prep journey, from when they were kids, they're going to do awesome. And they have potential to do really upper 30s. And a lot of them will almost never score below a 24, regardless of what their GPA is. We actually had a student, a family call us this week who, had a horrible GPA and a 30 on the ACT. And things like this happen because, like we said, there isn't a ton of correlation between ACT and GPA, but other things do obviously correlate, and reading fiction is certainly one of them. A simple way to do this, is to get your students 20 minutes per day. Get them sold on reading 20 minutes per day. If they do that for 6 months to a year with the intention of increasing their reading speed and comprehension, it is certainly in the realm of possibility they can double their reading speed in a year. And maybe even in 6 months, if they're really intentional about it. And this is not speed reading. Students do not want to be speed reading. They're really just increasing their natural reading speed, that they're retaining about 90+% of what they're reading. So that is our low hanging fruit item for everybody on having your student ready to have a great ACT score. We promise you some timelines. So we're going to run through these different timelines, and these start all the way in middle school. We've just focused on ACT, not admission for this. There's so many admissions and other things, deadlines, and you can find those, and it's different for so many schools. So we're just giving you a general, and this is an idealized timeline. So some of you obviously are past part of this, and that's okay. We're just giving you the idealized timeline. And if you still have young kids that are in middle school, or if you're just here for your middle school students, this, you can get yourself on an ideal timeline, in our opinion. But the middle school years, we think there are 4 things that you could really set yourself up, or a student up, for an advantage if they do these 4 things. 1, reading lots of fiction, ideally a book a month if possible. They certainly have more time in middle school, it seems, than in high school. So it's a great time to do it. 2, become mastery level good at grammar. All the English section, or the majority of the English section that students struggle with, is the grammar. So just being very intentional from the beginning about becoming great at grammar. Number 3, becoming mastery level good at the math foundations. So many students come to us with poor pre-algebra skills, and they can never again be good at math. And they think they're bad at math just because they didn't get the foundations down strong enough, and they're missing harder questions just because they missed a simple step from pre-algebra, even though they're doing everything else right. So, get a tutor, use Khan Academy, do whatever you need to make sure the middle school years your students are building solid math foundations. And the 4th thing is try to have them take advanced math each year, just so that they can be done with that algebra 2 and geometry, as soon as they can. in their high school years. So as far as their freshman year goes, this is the time to get their sights set on that 3.8 GPA. If they mess up their GPA their freshman year, it is hard to recover because remember, they just really after their junior year if they're planning on going to a larger university. We also recommend they go ahead and take their first ACT their freshman year. It's not for everybody, but just something to consider. Try to plan on them being done with Algebra 2 and Geometry by the end of their sophomore year. And sometimes this involves getting parents involved in the planning because schools are obviously not usually thinking of being done with those by the end of the sophomore year. So, maybe being involved in that part of the process is a good idea. Sophomore year. If your student is finishing Algebra 2 and Geometry this year, plan on taking the ACT in December and beginning prepping either in January or that summer. It is very realistic that your student can be done with the ACT by the end of their, summer after their sophomore year, or for sure by the December of their junior year, and can spend the entire next year just focusing on where they want to go to college. So junior year, ideally planning being done taking the ACT in December of their junior year. This will give an entire year, like I just said, to focus on other things. And if they need to get a couple more points on the ACT, once they decide where they want to go to college, they still have some leeway to be able to do that. But summer of their junior year, should be doing campus visits and applying to colleges. Like I said, probably you can apply without applying early admission. You can apply early just for regular decision. If it's one of the schools that you find doesn't offer the same amount of scholarships to both. And then their senior year, ideally your student is done with ACT and college admission stuff by the summer before their senior year. And, the last ACT that a student should take for most big schools, or that a student can take for most big schools, is December of their senior year. So that's the last ACT that students can take. Sometimes families think that because the admissions deadline is earlier in December, that they can't take the December ACT. But every school that we're aware of will accept the December ACT as long as you have it automatically sent to the school when they take the ACT. So just something to consider on that front. And so that's our general timeline. And now we're going to talk about actual prepping. So anything your student does is going to be better than nothing, but some methods are certainly more effective than others. So we're going to share the most effective self-prepping methods that we are aware of. First thing that everybody absolutely needs to be a part of your tool bank is crackact.com. Go ahead and write that down, crackact.com. We're pretty sure that what they do is illegal, but the ACT has not been able to close them down, even though they've tried several times. And what they do is they have 50 plus real past administered ACT tests for your students to practice on. And there's just no substitute for having real ACTs to practice with. And this is a free website to be able to have access to all of those. So crackact.com. As far as the best thing we've ever found for prepping for the math, it's quantumactprep.com. This does cost money. I think it's around $50 for 6 months, but they will actually give students video explanations of every one of the math problems from those Crack ACT tests that we just mentioned. If any of you are thinking about doing our program, we've actually partnered with these guys. So all of our students have access to this at no additional charge above our admission. But if you're wanting to self-prep, this is a great tool to increase your math scores at the fastest rate that we are aware of. As far as ACT prep books go, This is the best self-prep guide that we have ever found. It's called The Black Book for the ACT by Mike Barrett. And the great thing about the Black Book is that they have no affiliation with the ACT. So they're going to tell families a lot of things that the ACT doesn't want you to know, and that, the Princeton Review and Kaplan, McGraw-Hill aren't going to tell you. And so for that reason, it makes this a great book to self-prep on the ACT. And it does have, the major flaw with it is it doesn't do the best job of creating like a system to prep, but an easy system that you can use to prep is just doing an hour per day, and plan on doing it for 13 weeks, 3 months, just working through that book at your own pace. It is a great process to use to alleviate that. And if you are thinking about hiring professionals to help with your ACT prep, we hope that you will consider us for your prep. I'm going to take a few, a couple minutes here to tell you a couple little rundown points about us that I'd love for all parents to know. And then I'm going to turn it over to a past parent for a minute to tell you a little about her experience with her students in the program. And then we're going to go to the question and answer section. So the things that I want everybody to know about our program, the main thing is that we are the only program in the nation where students consistently achieve 5, 6, 7, and greater composite increases. You can think I'm lying about that, and I don't blame you, but I hope that you will look at our website and click on our wall of greats, and you will find hundreds and hundreds of students who have done exactly what I'm saying. And so, and I hope you'll look around to see, you're not going to see those types of increases anywhere else, anywhere near as consistently as what our students are achieving those. I teach every one of our classes. And like I said, I have more than 10,000 hours of coaching experience. I love what I do, and I'm pretty good at it based on, our results. Every one of our programs are custom designed for the students, and we do a better job of individual attention than any other program that I'm aware of. Every one of our students gets a dedicated coach who is in contact with them almost every day of the program to answer questions, provide feedback, look over their goals, give encouragement, or whatever else the student needs in pursuit of their goals. They're really there to be their personal cheerleader. Students in our program are going to work way harder than other programs. You're looking at an hour and a half to 2 hours per day, 6 days per week. So students should do the program when they have the availability to put in that level of work. We also are going to be more pricey, but I hope everybody will realize it's not comparing apples to apples. The biggest reason that we cost so much more is because of that individual attention of your student having a dedicated coach that is in contact with them every day. You're not going to get that anywhere else. And you got to take that into the cost benefit analysis and our results when you're making that decision. And we also do a money back satisfaction guarantee. So for any family that does our program, if you are unsatisfied with the services we provide, we'll give part or all of your money back, whatever you think is fair. And we've done that for our entire 9+ year history. So it really is a no risk opportunity if you're planning on going the professional route. We have a 13-week program and a 31+ guaranteed year-long program that begin almost every month. And we have a 5-week fast track program 3 times per year. So that's all that I'm going to say about our program. But I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Grun now. She's a teacher at Farragut High School. She's had 2 daughters who have gone through our program. One of them achieved a 7-point increase from a 27 to a 34. The other achieved a 13-point increase from a 21 to a 34. And both of them ended up becoming coaches with us. One of them is still coaching with us. So Kelly has experienced the full spectrum of our program. And I just wanted to turn it over to her to share from a parent's perspective, her experience in the program.
Thanks, Bobby. I will say, everybody, when my oldest daughter, started the program, or I told her about the program, and then we begged my husband to pay for the program, he wasn't excited about it at first because it is pricey. However, and my daughter, when I signed her up for it, laid on the floor and cried. I don't know if Bobby knows that. Jolie did that, and said, I can't believe you're going to make me do this during the summer. But she wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, and she knew she needed a really high ACT score. So she started the program. She worked 1.5 to 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. And she got her score. She got 34 and she got into the Air Force Academy. And then my youngest did the same thing, did the program, did what the coaches said, was encouraged by the coaches. It's an awesome environment because there's competition in it. They have teams that they're competing against in addition to themselves. It's fantastic. It's worth every penny. And my husband came around and said, I would do it again for every kid we have because it pays off. My youngest ended up with a full academic scholarship to UT based solely on ACT and GPA, like Bobby said. So I fully embrace the program and behind it. I tell my students at school, if you are willing to work 1.5 to 2 hours a day, you will find success and you will grow those points that you need. It's almost easy. The program is phenomenal. He's set it up. He lives and breathes ACT. I wish I could go back and take the test because I know just following his program, everybody would do better. So I'm sold. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. A lot of times, when we hear from parents, it's on the not so excited side, and those certainly happen, and that's the reality of every program. But we do always appreciate hearing happy parents and families.
We're happy.
So. We we know our program isn't for everybody. And so we would just ask if you do know anybody that you think is a good fit for our program, we would certainly appreciate you helping spread the word.